Hi everybody, Elaine Sanderson here, and I thought I'd do a quick video today on how to get people to your webinar. If you're thinking of running webinars or you've already got one set up, it's a really important aspect of getting people there. There's no point in running a webinar without anybody attending it. I've been asked several times in the last few weeks of how do you get people to my webinars, how do I get people to my webinars. So I thought I'd cover, there's about 7 ways that I use personally of getting people on my webinars, and there might be other ways, I'm not saying there isn't, but these are the ones that I've used over the years to get people to my webinars. I call them workshops, and maybe you could use these tips as well. But I will say that I am not going to cover what goes in the webinar, the structure of the webinar, the psychological selling aspects of conducting webinars, how to draw people in either to buy your product at the end or to be convinced to sign up with you. That is a completely different lesson. My objective today is to cover how to get people to your webinar. So let's get cracking. So the first way is pretty obvious. Now, if you've got an email list, this is a fantastic way. You literally use this first. You email your low-hanging fruit email list because obviously they're interested in what you do. They've paid an interest. Some of them read your emails. You might get like a good open rate. You might get 40% open rate, which is absolutely amazing. So you email your list by using compelling headline, all the reasons in bullet points why they should be coming on your webinar. And you don't just email them once, because quite often these people, they might be busy, they've missed your email, or they might have read it and forgotten all about it. So I would suggest a week before your webinar, you email your list three or four times as a reminder that your webinar is happening. Get signed up. You can't take everybody, it's limited spaces. Create that urgency. Now, obviously I've used my email list, and I always email my list whenever I run a webinar, but I've also used this method as well. So there is something out there called D7 Lead Finder, and you can scrape off company names if you're kind of aiming at companies, and you save them as CSV or Excel files, and you can use those emails to cold email out to all these people. You have to be a little bit careful with this method, but I have used this and got great success out of it, because I have been in the photography coaching niche and the business coaching niche, and I can find my clients on D7. So if you're dealing with sort of physical companies, this is a great way of finding them. And also, I say relevant sites. So say for instance, I was in the photography niche, wedding, portrait photography niche, also landscape, but that's not relevant on this sort of lesson today. And there are particular sites out there. One's called the SWPP, Society of Wedding and Portrait Photographers. We've got BIPP, British Institute of Professional Photographers. And this was quite a long time ago now, but there were ways we did scrape those lists and went to somebody off, I think it was Fiverr at the time. You can use Fiverr, they're scraping people out there on Fiverr. They scrape the list for you, and you get them back with email addresses most of the time, and you can use that to email people. So when you're emailing these lists, you obviously don't want to do it all in one hit, because your server will have a limit on how many emails you can send a day. So I would suggest around 50 a day. And when you cold email, don't use the word like free. You don't want to get caught in the spam filters. So you need to be very careful and use words that aren't going to trigger the spam filters. And also don't use capitals at the front of your headline, the capital at the first letter of every word on your headline. That sort of triggers as well. And keep the headlines quite short, so that you're going to optimise your chance of not getting caught in spam filters. And if you email from a Gmail email address, you can actually track who opens it. So I have had success with this using industries. So that's cold email. Now, if you've got a Facebook group, this is another way. You can create an event, a webinar, workshop event, and invite all your members. So I won't go into how you do that, but this is an overview. If you're a Facebook group, that is a brilliant way. You can also create an event from your personal Facebook profile, and you can create an event that takes people to like a physical event, like a location, or an online event. So if you've got a lot of friends on Facebook that are in your business niche, it's a great way of just inviting them all in one hit. Now, if you haven't, and all your friends are family and friends, you really need to think about building up your friends list full of business people that could potentially buy off you, because when you run these events, you can invite them. Okay, so that's a really great tip as well that I've used. You can also use Eventbrite and create an event. I've got one of my events on Eventbrite, because you can use keywords to make your event searchable on Eventbrite, so people can pick up and sign up from there itself. So that's another one I've used. And obviously, if you're going to be running events on Facebook, you naturally want to write a post, get a really nice image, maybe go into Canva and create a really nice colourful image that's eye-catching, put it on your personal Facebook page, within your group if you've got one, and your personal profile, and tell people what you're doing, when you're running it, the image is there to grab their attention, and then they can obviously get to your event from there. Okay, and you could even, within the posts, I don't know whether some of you might use Zoom for webinars, GoToWebinar. I've used both. You can take them from there and you can send them to a link outside Facebook where they sign up on a sign-up form, an opt-in form, and they register for your webinar that way. You can join relevant Facebook groups, and some groups, not all at all, some groups let you post promotions and links in there, so you can send them a link to your webinar from there. But be very careful with that, because you don't want to get thrown out of the group, you don't want to appear spammy, because most of these groups are there where you give value, they give value. It's not kind of trying to post your promotions and your content all over the place. So you have to check the rules. Now, if you're not sure of the rules, you can post your webinar link in there. But no, sorry, let me rephrase that. If you're not sure of the rules, you need to ask the owner's permission. You could friend them on Facebook and send them a message saying, well, I'm trying to add value to your members. I'm running a webinar. Would I be allowed to post it? And if they say yes, you then go back in and say, I've got the owner's permission, the admin's permission to post this at the top so people don't think you're being spammy. But that's a great way as well. But obviously, if you're going to run a webinar and the subject is the same as what the admin is teaching, or the admin obviously may be monetizing this group, so you don't want to be clashing what the admin does. They're certainly not going to let you promote something that they do themselves. So join the groups in your niche and see what their rules are, and use them and post them if you can. If not, ask the admin itself. Now, this is a brilliant way that I've used in the past, joint venturing with others in your niche who complement what you do. So you don't want to be going to people that are direct competitors, but you do want to be going to people that sort of complement what you do, you don't clash with. Now, an example of this, when I was in the photography niche, I used to joint venture with top photographers in the UK, one of them being Annabelle Williams, and they've obviously got big lists of people. I was marketing for them on their behalf, so I used their list to promote their programs, and we went 50-50 on the split. So if you know people, I wasn't actually competing because I'm not a photographer, I just happen to have marketed my own photography coaching business as well as others. So look at in your niche, see who you can complement, who would benefit from going 50-50. Don't go to your competitor. And if you've also got a list yourself, you can promote it to your list and their list at the same time, so double whammy effect. So when you promote to other people's lists, you can split, if it is a product you're selling, you can obviously split the proceeds, the money coming in 50-50. So if they come on a strategy call and they turn into a client, you can split it 50-50, because just because you're going to do the work, they've got the list, which is so powerful. I've joint ventured with other people in the past, like Stephen Esser, Karina Esser. They're Australian marketers, really well known in their niche, and promoting my business product, my SEO product. And also I promoted joint venture with people like Derek Armson. He's an SEO expert. We do different types of SEO which complement each other. So I think, you've got the idea on that. So that takes a little bit of research on your part who you could joint venture with. Now, the last one is the beast, and I probably have got most of my webinar registrants from Facebook ads. But you do have to know how to use Facebook ads. It can be a dangerous game if you don't know what you're doing. But if you do know how to use Facebook ads, I mean, for example, I pulled in, and I was only using a limited budget as a test on this particular occasion, just to show you how powerful it can be. I pulled in 250 registrants, 275 within a 2-day period. And that was on a budget at the time, because I was testing a particular product. That was on a budget of £1,000 for the Facebook ads. But I must say, my list over the years has built because of Facebook ads, and they are very powerful. And the great thing is that obviously when you run your webinar, not all of the registrants will turn up. But the great thing is you can then email them afterwards. They're on your list now, because obviously you're going to have an opt-in form before your webinar. They're on your list, and you can email them the replay, and you carry on getting results after the webinar, because maybe people couldn't attend because they were busy, but they really wanted to, and then they catch up with your webinar maybe a day or two later. So those are the ways I've used. As I say, there's probably other ways. Go ahead and obviously use those other ways, but those are the ways I've used and tested and have worked for me. So I hope that's helped, and basically thank you very much for listening. I hope that's been really helpful.